Okay, so today's lesson we are going to talk about sets, and this is kind of an introduction to some set theory and some different things. So we're going to be using some vocabulary that is going to be brand new. So make sure that you get all of this down so you understand what sets are and what we do with them. We're also going to list some different sets and subsets and kind of talk about what that looks like as well. Okay. So, some important vocabulary for you to know is first of all, what is a set? A set is simply a collection of objects. I have a set of books in my classroom. I have a set of fancy dishes that I got from my great great grandmother. Okay, it's a collection of different objects. The elements are the objects within that set. So, for example, if I have a set of books in my classroom, one of those books is an element. And each element is only listed once in the set, okay? We use the little letter, it kind of looks like an E here, you can see, to show that something is an element of a set. And then we do this E with a slash through it to show that it is not an element of the set. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like when we're writing our sets. The third thing you need to know is what an empty set is. An empty set is exactly what it sounds like. It has no elements in it, okay? So if I had a set of, I don't know, favorite pencils, but I didn't have any pencils, that would be an empty set, okay? It means I need to go to the store and buy myself some more pencils. An empty set is just a set or a collection that has no elements or objects within it. Equal sets are two sets that contain exactly the same elements. So, for example, I have a set of graphing calculators in my classroom, and Miss Alonzo has a set of graphing calculators in her classroom. They have the exact same number of calculators and the exact same type of calculators. They are equal sets, okay? Disjoint sets would be sets that have no elements in common whatsoever. So you have two sets of completely separate and different objects. There's no crossover between them. So, for example, the set of books in my classroom are all pre-calc books. The set of books in Miss Alonzo's classroom are all Algebra 2 books. Those are disjoint sets because they have nothing in common, okay? Now, a subset is a set that is completely contained within another set. And we use this symbol, it looks like a C with a line underneath of it, to say that it is a subset of, and then this with the slash through it is not a subset of. So a subset is a smaller set that's contained completely within a larger set. So for example, let's say we're talking about students, right? The junior class is a subset of the student body. All right. So all of the juniors are a collection of students that are in 11th grade. They are a subset or a part of the larger set of all of the students at DDHS. So that subset of juniors is contained within the larger set of the population of the school. So let's talk about a little bit more here. What are the elements of each set that we're given? So starting with the vowels in the English language. What are the elements? The elements would be A, E, I, O, and U. Now, notice how this is written, okay? I used V for vowels. You don't have to, but you can use whatever letter you want to describe the set. And then we've got those little squiggly brackets to show that what's contained inside them is all of the vowels in the English language. Now, I want you to know every year I have someone who says, well, why? It's sometimes why. Why is not always a vowel. It can make a vowel sound, but it's truly a consonant, so we didn't include it here, okay? Feel free to debate that if you would like to amongst yourselves, but for now we're going to focus on vowels just being A, E, I, O, and U. The set of countries in North America. Think about that for a second. See if you can list out what that would be. Hopefully you came up with Canada, United States, and Mexico. Those are the three countries in North America. And then we notice we've listed them in brackets. We just list them out. It doesn't have to be in any specific order. I went top to bottom. It doesn't matter, okay? The teams in the NFC North. So think about all the teams in the NFC North. The elements of this set would be the Bears, the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings listed in no particular order. We're not going best to worst or anything like that. Again, feel free to debate that with your friends, but we're just listing out the four teams that are part of the NFC North. Now, the NFC North would be a subset of the NFC as a whole, okay? Because those four teams are the set of NFC North, but they're also contained in the teams of the NFC and even larger, the NFL. All right, high schools in Delavan. The elements of this set would be DDHS and DD Tech. There are two high schools in Delavan, so we are going to list both of them as part of this or elements of the set of H being high schools. Okay, months with 32 days. Think about this for a second. Which months have 32 days? The answer is none of them. This is an empty set. There are no months that have 32 days. They all go up to 31 at the very most, okay? So these are just kind of some examples of sets of things. They're collections of different things, and we're just listing the elements of each one. And you can just list them out, put them in those squiggly brackets, for lack of a better description, and that's how we write our sets, okay? Now, which of the following are equal sets? If we look at these, remember an equal set has exactly the same elements, all right? And that would be A and D. So set A and set D are equal. B is not the same because those are all negative, and then C obviously doesn't have all of the same elements, so it's not equal. Which of the following are disjoint sets? So we're looking at the same sets again. This time, which ones have nothing in common? Well, let's see, A and B would be disjoint, B and C would be disjoint, C and D would be disjoint, B and D. You can make up several of them. The only ones that are not disjoint with each other are A and D. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. C is a subset. That's my bad. B is disjoint with all of the other ones, okay? Given C is the set of the months of the years, which of the following would be a subset? So in other words, which of these is contained in C? Well, D and E, but not F, because F is not a month of the year. So we would write this like so. D is a subset of C using that symbol. E is a subset of C. And then if we wanted to, we could write F is not a subset of C, okay? I didn't ask for that, but just so you know what that looks like, we would say F is not a subset of C, and we would use that subset symbol with a line through it. That means it is not, okay? Given H is the set of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which of the following is a subset of H? Now remember, a subset has to be contained completely within that set. So I is not a subset because H is 6, is not contained in H, okay? J is a subset because 5 is contained in H. K is not a subset because, again, that pesky 6 is there and it's not part of H. So we would write that like this. J is a subset of H. I is not a subset of H, and K is not a subset of H, okay? Hopefully you're kind of starting to see how this is written and how to write the subsets and use sort of the symbols and everything together. This is something we'll kind of keep working on, but I wanted to expose you to this so you've seen it before, okay? Let's talk about the set of zoo animals. If I was going to make a set pulling from all of these animals, so these are all the animals in the universe. Okay, now clearly, side note, they are not all the animals in the universe. They're just all the animals that I could fit pictures of on this page, okay? We're going to call this the universe. These are all the animals that we're considering. Which of these would fall into the set of zoo animals? Well, I think you could say that a panda, a polar bear, a tiger, an elephant, a hippo, a penguin, a giraffe are all zoo animals, right? Sheep, cow, maybe if you're going to one of those zoos that has like the petting zoo or the farm area, I suppose you could make a case. I wouldn't necessarily consider those zoo animals. I would consider those farm animals. A dog and a cat, they're so cute. I would consider those to be pets, right? You're not going to go to the zoo and necessarily see a dog or a cat. And a squirrel is just, I mean, you might see it at a zoo, but it's not a zoo animal, okay? So the set of zoo animals from this universe of animals that we're looking at, the ones that are circled, we could say would be elements of the set of zoo animals. Let's try another one. Here we have clothing. This is always a kind of a fun one because it ends up in a little bit of a debate about what is clothing. And part of that is So it depends on how you define, right? So if we're looking for the set of things that are clothes here, it kind of depends on how you define clothes. I think we can clearly say that the shirt, the pants, the dress, and probably the sweatshirt are clothing. Now, the rest of the things, you could kind of go back and forth. The necklace and sunglasses, probably not clothing. The hat, not really, right? Shoes are generally considered shoes and not part of clothing. Socks are the big ones that people tend to get stuck on. And I suppose you could go either way. I would consider socks to be an accessory because you don't have to wear them, right? You can wear sandals without socks, but you kind of have to wear pants for clothing. So, and in my mind, I would consider socks not to be. You could definitely make an argument that they are an element. So if you choose to include them, go ahead. All right, NFL teams. Which of these symbols stand for a team that's part of the NFL? These would be elements of the NFL. Well, the Packers, the Bears, and the Bills, right? The Brewers are baseball, and the Badgers, while they are football, are not an NFL team. So Packers, Bears, and Bills would be elements of the set of NFL teams from this universe that we're considering. All right, here's a fun one, sports cars. Go ahead and argue with a friend sitting nearby about which ones you think are sports cars because it kind of depends on how you define sports cars, okay? And I have not given a definition here, so it's kind of up to you. So go ahead, talk with someone nearby, decide what you think would be part of the sports car set. Personally, I would consider this one, the Lambo, and the Maserati probably to be sports cars. I would definitely consider the Infiniti to be more of a luxury SUV. Same with the Bentley would be more of a luxury car. And I know Audis, you can kind of go either way, but that's a four-door. So I would kind of consider that to be a sedan, which would be more of like a luxury family car, not necessarily a sports car. Again, up for debate. Feel free to debate that with someone sitting nearby. Hopefully you're kind of understanding though what that means to be in a set. A set is just a grouping of things. So we take a universe looking at a bunch of different things and we determine, okay, this is part of that set, this is not. This goes in that set, this is not. And part of it is how are we defining the set? We have criteria, right? So to be a sports car, you have to have two doors, not four, or it has to have, a V8 engine or more. Whatever, however you define sports cars. Would determine which cars from this grouping that you would put into that set, okay? Some more important vocabulary that we need to know is, first of all, what is a union? A union is all of the elements in either set or both, meaning you're taking two sets and you're putting them together. We can have crossover and that's fine, but the union is the two sets put together. So, let's say we were going to create the union of, girls sports. How about that? The union of girls sports. So we would take all the girls tennis players, girls swim, volleyball, girls basketball, cheerleading, track, soccer, girls soccer. I think I listed them all. Bowling. I forgot about bowling. Sorry. So from those 8 sports, we would take all of the girls and put them together and create one union. Now, some people play 2 sports, right? So some people might do swim and track. That would be a crossover. They're part of that set no matter what, or part of that union no matter what, because we're taking all of the girls' sports and putting them all together, creating a union, okay? Now, an intersection is the elements that are contained in both or all of the sets. So the intersection of girls' sports would be an athlete who plays every single one of those sports, which we know is not a thing, but that would be the intersection, okay? I'm trying to think of another good example of an intersection, but I'll just show you one with some letters here. So we have a couple different sets. We have set A, which is all the letters of the English alphabet, set B, which is A through M, set C, which is all the vowels, and set D, which is N through Z. And we want to find A union B. So we're going to take A and B and put them together. Well, B is already contained in A, so that set would just be all the letters in the alphabet. Okay? So we're putting them together, and anything that's not in one, we're joining in. The intersection of A and B would be, what do A and B have in common? what do they share of elements? Well, if we listed out all the letters of the English alphabet, the ones that they would have in common would be all the letters contained in B. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Okay? Those would be the crossover or the elements that are shared between A and B. That's what the intersection is. Let's try another one. The union of B and C. So if we put B and C together, we've got A through M, and then we've got O and U. So we took those two B, all the elements of B combined with all the elements of C, and we just listed them out. Now, A is twice. We only list it once. Same with E, same with I, okay? And then we list every single one that's there. Now, the intersection of B and C, meaning what do B and C share, that's only A, E, and I, because those are the only ones that are in both sets at the same time. I hope you're kind of starting to see this a little bit. Let's do a couple more. So C union D. What do C and D have if we put them both together? Well, all the letters in D plus A, E, and I. So similar idea. All right, what's the intersection of B and D? Well, nothing. They have nothing that they share, so that would be an empty set. They have no variables in common or letters in common, so the intersection between them does not exist. If we created a Venn diagram for that, we would have two completely separate circles that don't cross in any way because there's no crossover, okay? We're going to use a lot of Venn diagrams. Hopefully you've seen these before. And we're going to use them to represent sets. And then we use a rectangle on the outside to kind of show the whole universe that we're looking at, okay? So here's a Venn diagram of superheroes. We've got 3 different groupings of superheroes. One group of the superheroes with superpowers, one grouping of the heroes that are super rich, and one grouping of the heroes that are a genius. Genii is the plural for that. Notice we've got a couple of crossovers. Professor X has superpowers, he's super rich, and he's a genius. Same with Magneto. Iron Man is super rich and a genius, but he doesn't have superpowers. Same, Batman is just super rich. He doesn't have powers, and he's not a genius. Remember, he had, who was it? That guy who worked in his R&D who created all the stuff for him. He was the genius, right? So we've kind of got our 3 groupings here. Let's talk about some of our combinations. So we have superpowers, intersection with super rich, intersection with genius. That we already said was only Professor X and Magneto. So the only ones who have superpowers, are super rich, and are a genius are those 2. Now, super rich combined with genius or union. Sorry. So super rich and genius, that would be everybody in these 2 circles. So Batman, Professor X, Magneto, Iron Man, Megamind, and the Hulk. They are all super rich and or a genius, okay? So we will just list all of them out. Now, superpowers and the genius, so I'm going to flip back again. Superpowers and the genius would be these guys here. So everybody but Batman is who that would be. So that looks like Captain America, Superman, Professor X, Magneto, Hulk, Iron Man, and Megamind. And notice we're just listing them out. We're putting them in the set brackets. And just, it's okay to abbreviate if you want to, as long as you can tell what it means, okay? Let's look at another one. So here's a Venn diagram of some snacks, it looks like. I would consider the universe to be snacks maybe, foods, or things you might find in your kitchen. We could kind of go a couple different ways with what is the universe, but just kind of describe like what is this stuff, all right? Now the question is, what is set A? So set A we would call the sweet stuff, the cupcake, the cookie, the candy, the chocolate pretzels, and the popcorn balls. All the stuff that's contained in this pink circle, which means that set B is the salty stuff. The peanuts, the chocolate pretzels, the popcorn balls, the chips, and the salt and pepper, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so we've got our 2 sets, and then notice the crossover is sweet and salty, which would be the chocolate pretzels and the popcorn balls. So the question is, what does swalty represent? It represents the sweet and the salty together, right? The intersection of A and B. Now, I want you to think about this. What food could be part of the universe, but not set A or set B? So thinking about how did we define our universe? If you wanted to call the universe snacks, well, what's a snack that's not sweet and not salty? Maybe Takis because they're spicy. Carrots because they're carrots. They're not sweet, they're not salty, they're not anything, right? But they could be considered a snack, or celery, or I suppose you could make a case for like peanut butter. I don't know that I would consider peanut butter sweet or salty. Um, so there's a lot of different things that you could kind of put into this universe that aren't necessarily sweet or salty, that would not be elements of either of the sets, but could be an element of the universe. Just kind of talk about that, think about that a little bit, and we'll keep expanding on the idea of how do we put things in sets and what do we do with different things. So let's think about this, and this is one I would just want you to kind of think about. Where would you fall on this Venn diagram? What is this asking? So the universe, we could probably say, is siblings, right? You have a brother, or you have a sister, or you have both, or you have neither. So I want you to think about, where would your name go here? So if you have just a brother, your name is going to go over here. If you have just a sister, which is me, I only have one sister, your name is going to go over here. If you have both a brother and a sister, at least one of each, you'd put your name in the middle. What if you don't have any siblings? What if you're that rare only child? Your name would go outside, okay? Now, we do have to think about, how are we defining siblings? Are we including half siblings, step siblings, adopted siblings? Some of us, maybe our parents talk about our pets being our siblings. In that case, I also have a brother because my parents have a dog. So it kind of depends on, again, how do you define siblings, right? So kind of think about that and think about, where would your name go on this Venn diagram, okay? We're going to do a little bit more with this as we continue, but hopefully you at least kind of understand set notation. What is an intersection? What is a union? And how do I tell if something is an element? How do I tell if it's a subset, etc.? All right? Please make sure that you do your assignment. It is online, and let me know if you have any questions.